Hey Mecca, how are you? Anyway, so like basically, I have my first book that I have published. It's just people who haven't, been keeping up. I published my first book, 30 Poems by my 30th birthday on February 28th. And that was gonna be my first book. And I was like, I'm gonna do my first book, publish that. I did poetry because I wanted to get my foot in the door for people to know me. And I think poetry is I wanted to have a interesting book that wasn't big and long and people just like. Because sometimes with reading, when it's long, it kind of be like, okay, I put it down, do this. But poetry is supposed to be entertaining and interesting, so you can pick it up, whenever you want to. And that's the reason why I did my poetry book first. Because, like I said, I wanted to get my name out there. I wanted to basically, grab people's attention with a certain type of writing. In the beginning, the process was to do the poetry book and then do my autobiography. Like I said, my autobiography was supposed to be in doing the sections. Like I want to do my childhood. I want to put that out, let that sell. Then I want to do my teenage years, and then I want to do my preteens. I'm gonna be 30 this year, so I was gonna do like my last autobiography, like the end of my 20s. And it just seemed like once I started writing and made this something that I really wanted to do, it kind of changed because it's like my mind is always going, it's constantly going. I'm steady, got my notepad and my pen writing, talking about different stuff because it's just like it's always something that comes up and it's just always, something to write down for me, something to remember. So I was like, okay, well, how about I go ahead and finish. I had started writing, and next thing you know, I had a second book. And the thing about it is, like my writing, I wrote my first book in a week. I probably wrote the second book like in a couple of days, 5 or 6 days, something like that. And I said, well, I'm gonna put that out there too. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. That way, people have a selection because people who have read my first book was like, okay, we read your first book. When you come out with something new, with something new. So people are really interested in like what I was gonna do next, and it was also really liking that book. So I was like, okay, well, even if it's just a couple of people, spread the word, do whatever. If they really like it, they'll tell me about it. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and do my other book. And the thing about it is the process, like I said, the writing doesn't take long. It's the publishing, the copywriting, the editing, getting your cover done, making sure it's how you want it to be, then going through the printing company. And like I said, the beginning printing company's kind of fast, but now since this COVID-19 is kind of slow, they don't have a lot of people on staff. They have to look at everything and, every stuff like that. But then I was like, okay, so I'm putting out my second book. So I published my second book, which is Take Me Back to 20. And I published that a month later, which was March 28th. Initially, I wanted to do my first book on my birthday, which is May 30th. But then I wanted to do a party then. I was like, well, I have to sell my books now because I was like, who's going to talk about a book at the party if I just now publish it and people don't have a copy of it? And it was kind of more of like, it is a book signing if people want to get it signed again. Because the thing about it is I do pre-sign my books. I also do have a stamp inside my book. So I do it like that. I signed it, and of course, if I was gonna do my part, if you want the insign to be signed in person, I was fine. But the book, the major thing of my party was like a celebration for the people who had supported me, the people who has been on this journey with me, the people who seen me evolving as a person and as a writer. And plus, it was going to be actually on my 30th birthday, so it was just going to be people that I knew. Uh, Mostly people who bought the book that I know, people who, just I've been knowing for a long time, family and stuff like that. And that was the whole point of my thing. Yeah, because of COVID-19, I'm kind of sad because it's like, it's supposed to be a formal event. So it was going to be like ballroom, suits and ties, canes type of event. And just the closer I get, I was getting kind of sad. I was getting kind of depressed because not only that, I want to have this party because I'm like, hey, I'm finna be 30. Let me do something different. Let me do something new. Have it a nice, really place. Something that's really elegant, but something where we can also have fun. And then later on, do something else once the party was over. So it wasn't just about my birthday. It was actually like a pinpoint in my life that was really, I think was going to be like a big deal, because it was something where I'm just now becoming an author. I became an author January 6, 2020, and just celebrating that whole journey of being an author, celebrating my sales and celebrating it with my family, and then actually in friends and people who have bought the book. But it was supposed to be a celebration for that, so it wasn't just like a 30th birthday party. It was like a book signing slash celebrating my journey of being an author, becoming an author, and stuff like that. So I have been sad, kind of depressed, because I was like, it's not just this regular year where it's just a birthday, because I can always celebrate my birthday later, but I thought it was going to be really nice for us to actually do it on my 30th birthday, to sell my first book by then, sell my books by then, and also just doing something that really meant something. You turning 30, and then on your 30th birthday, you having this party. So I've been kind of sad and depressed about that, but I know things do happen for a reason, and I know I can always do it later. And like I said, right now, I'm just going with that, even though I'm still kind of, sad about it, but it is what it is. Things happen, and, you just have to get through them. Also, I said to myself, like, I got those two books out, let me do something that's kind of different. I have two children, a son and a daughter, a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old. And they're different, anyway. They're totally different personalities. But at the same time, also there's a boy and a girl. I wanted to relate to a different crowd, because, it's us as adults really don't read like that. And if we do, we kind of read the same stuff, or the same stuff pertaining to certain stuff. So I wanted to capture kids, a different crowd, which would be children, because I was like, when it comes down to reading, like my daughter, she loves to read, but certain things catch her attention. And my son, he'll read. It's not something that he loves to do, but I think that if he has to, he will. But it's also about, catching his attention and doing stuff like that. So I said, what better book to write than to come from their, point of view. At first, I was just going to do one book, but then when I started creating it, I needed more pages, I needed different stuff, and I just didn't want to make it just pictures. So I said, hey, how about I do two books in one? By me doing two books in one, I said, okay, how about me, making a different, language, Spanish, because in high school, I had 2 years of Spanish, 2 years of French. And I don't know if all schools require you to do that, but the schools in the city of Chicago, you have to do both. And now, like, a lot of times you come across where it's bilingual kids that's in school. A lot of times their parents are not really fluent in Spanish. So I said, okay, to make it, more interesting, I do my book in English and Spanish. That way, if the mother is reading it, or the father, or whoever's reading it who doesn't speak Spanish, they can also have that where it's Spanish, and then that child who has it in English. And for people, actually I'm trying to teach my kids Spanish, so that way they could learn it, and it's something new, and it's something right there, and it's something that's also help, because when you learn a language, that kind of triggers a whole nother process in your mind. It's always good to know a second language. So that's the reason why I did it like that. I did two books in one, and then I incorporated Spanish in it, because I'm like, it would be something learning. And then the world's changing every day, so so our second language makes Spanish, so that way it can help. A lot of times, like I said, a lot of kids that are in school, they have to learn English. A lot of times the parents or whoever's around them don't. So that could be something that they share together. It doesn't have to be something where, okay, well, my child has to read this and they have to interpret it for me. They have the English and Spanish. And my children's book it's called A Child's Voyage / Family Vacation. A Child's Voyage is basically speaking from my daughter's point of view. Just a day that she's having, going on her adventure, doing something she usually does on a regular. And then the second part, I found vacation, speaking from my son's point of view, and just us traveling over the world and all the places that we have been to, because I started traveling with him before I had my daughter. So the thing about it is, we used to do stuff before she came, and now we went together. So I did it like that. I wanted to incorporate my kids. They did happen with the first book. My son drew the pictures. If you bought the first book, you will see that. And my daughter colored. Even though it's in black and white, you can still say it was colored. And I just wanted to have her a part of it. So that's the reason why I did that. So with the children's book, I did write the entire book. I did let them listen to the entire book, and they actually liked the book. She likes it, and my kids are kind of like, mom's kind of incorporating me with her line of work, and I think that's really good, because I think, like I grew up with my son basically, because I had him at a young age. So actually having, a career that it can involve them really helps me out, and kind of learn different stuff with them, different stuff they like. So the reason why I incorporated them in the book, and I did my first book speaking from my daughter's point of view, and I did that speaking from them, my son, for the second book. I printed it out because I kind of want to see what it looked like. And I don't know if you can see, but this is some of like the pictures in there. As you can see, like I said, it's on the first page. It's kind of like that. And then on the second page, this is the actual like Spanish part of the thing. And I wanted to do that so you can just see like, hey, okay, I want to kind of see the colors and what it would look like. So that's just the printout. I won't be publishing that to April the 28th, which is like in 7 more days. And that's why I haven't printed that book out, because I haven't published it. I'm waiting for everything to come back and everything like that. This process, and then after that, I said, instead of trying to rush my autobiography, that's really, something that was like a part of my life. So I wanted to make sure that is like really good. Also, I want to take my time with it, because writing a poetry book, you still have to copy edit, you still have to make certain things correct and do, editing. But with the chapter book, it's more, it's a little bit more work, because, when you're talking, you have to make sure you put quotation marks, you have to make sure you have complete sentences. Well, my poetry book, I didn't really have to do that. And because these are poetry books, I'm doing them in sections. So basically, I'm telling the story, but each story is different. With my children's book, that's the first time I actually wrote a book consistent of the same story. So that was kind of like the beginning of my storytelling. I did start working on my autobiography like 2 months ago, but this one was actually complete because I'm not done with my biography. So this book, these 2 books in one, had me kind of create that storyline where it's like I'm talking about one thing, and it's about, this whole book is about that one topic, versus this poetry book, I have different topics. So I'm glad that I actually did that. I'm glad that I took the process to actually do a children's book. And of course, I say, most people I know have children. So why not, get them a book while you read and stuff like that. And also just to make, reading fun. So with my autobiography, I really want to take my time. I'm not going to publish that to next year, because I want to make sure it's right. I want to make sure it's good. I want to make sure that, every detail, everything that I can think of from when I can remember. Because my autobiography is basically from what I can remember as a child. And so I just really want to make that special and something that's really, gonna put out there that people are gonna be like, okay, so this is a little bit more into her actual life. Because with poetry, I did put some of my life, basically in it, because it's about me, but it's also about different topics that I've either encountered or people encounter in the world, and that's what I want to talk about. So I'm still doing my autobiography, but I said to put that out next year, because I want to make sure that is, a good masterpiece that I put together. I just don't want to throw it together. And I know it's going to take a little bit, more than it would have for like my poetry books for us to write, and then, the children's book. And it's kind of crazy, because when you start out something, you really don't know basically how it's going to go. Because when I first did it, I thought, okay, hey, I'm just going to do my poetry book first, next autobiography. And another thing, a lot of people was asking kind of like, do you think it was kind of too soon to actually doing back to back? And my thing about it is, I don't know anybody who has actually did 3 books back to back in 3 months. But also, I say, everybody's journey is different. But I also want to put out different selections out there so people can see. And everybody who's bought my first book, and who's bought the second book, had like my second book actually better than my first book. And I was surprised by that. Not to say it like that, but I said, my first book, I really want to capture so many people, different attention, so I had many different topics. This one, I kind of was more, I didn't do so many general topics like I did on the first book, because like I said, the first book is 47 poems. This book is 28 or something, 27. And that's why, I think, I was like, well, let me try to switch it up a little bit, because, when you grab people's attention, even though I'm 29 years old, I want people, well, it's an adult book. So, of course, I want to relate to young, adults, middle-aged adults, older adults. And, of course, I know in the book, you're not going to like every poem or, every situation, and that's fine. But long as you can like 20 poems out of the book, I feel like I've done my job. I feel like, it's something related to, because people are different, places in their life. And as long as you can look at my book and see something in it, that to me is like amazing. So as far as that, me dropping them back to back like that, it's kind of like now I have something to sit and just do what it does. And I'm not really trying to do what other people do. I'm trying to do what I think is, like, good for me. And that's why I want to put the selection out there, so people have different selections, and people who actually buy my books and actually read my books, they can have just not one or two. And if they have children or grandchildren, then they have that option. And also, I think that, when you start a field, you have so many people has been before you, and you look at kind of like what they do and stuff like that. And it's not like a lot of authors out there. I mean, I read a lot. And I guess I just don't keep up with authors. The only author that I really just know off top is like Maya Angelou. And she told stories and she did a lot of stuff, but she opened a lot of doors for other people. And my whole journey, I think, is not just about me. And that's the thing, because you have so many people before you that open doors for you, and it's a blessing when people can do that, because they open up doors. And it's like, she can do this, she can do that. That way people behind you, coming up in the future, have that door already open, and then they could just expand it. I think that a lot of times, sometimes you get people who come into the world, and it's kind of like, hey, hold on,